Good morning. Welcome to Turbulent Flow. It's Saturday, June the 13th. My name's Renee. On Instagram, I am Cirque Old Lady, and the Turbulent Flow podcast is the place where I come to just, occasionally and randomly talk about life in general. And in my life, that usually means engineering, circus, and cancer, because I'm a two-time breast cancer alumnus. Currently, one of the main reasons why I wanted to make sure I did something today is that you might notice that the environment's a little different. I am still sitting inside my handy cube and have my partner in crime, Mr. William S. Preston, Esquire, otherwise known as Billy the dog. The two of us are outside in my backyard because that's where my cube has been relocated for the moment. You usually see me using it in most of the things that I've published on my channel are me using the cube when it sits on the ground, because it's a lot easier to set it up that way. But today I've got it outside because I'm going to use it in the mode that it was actually designed for, which is as an aerial cube. So I'm not going to do any tricks because I haven't really finished warming up yet, but I will show you at least how it flies and what it looks like when it's not just sitting on the ground with me sitting inside it chatting at the screen. The other reason why I wanted to record today specifically is that we are coming up on the 6-month anniversary since my bilateral mastectomy. I had a double mastectomy to flat to when I got my second cancer diagnosis, and it has now been 6 months. So I mean, as any of you know, I'm not gonna take my shirt off or anything, but you can see these. I used to actually have breasts 6 months ago, as a matter of fact, but not so much anymore. They're not there, and 6 months in, I will admit I'm pretty pleasantly surprised by how the recovery is going. I had 2 lymph nodes also removed from the left side. That was my cancer side both times. So both times I had, so the first time I had a lumpectomy and retained both of my breasts. I just had a little scar. That scar is actually weirdly still there. But so I had a little scar, and then the second time when the cancer came back, it made it clear that and I was having a recurrence. I had a full mastectomy, and so they took everything off. They did something called a Goldilocks closure, but it's a flat closure because I didn't have enough to build the Goldilocks mound. Not going to get into that in great detail, but anybody who's familiar with cancer reconstruction options in detail will understand the words that I just threw out there. Hey, buddy. But not to get into that too much, but I just wanted to give a little bit of a 6-month update. So 6 months post mastectomy, I'm feeling really strong. I've been working very hard at my mobility, making sure that I can get my arms overhead. I've got full range of motion. For a 54-year-old woman, I'm not a spring chicken. I'm not one of those. I'm not going to be a professional circus performer at this age. I'm a professional engineer. I am a recreational acrobat, 100%. This is just my hobby. But yeah, no, I've got full range of motion in my arms. It's still numb right here. Right here, there is definitely numbness. Of course, there's numbness across where the scars are as well. I was expecting that. I had a C-section when I gave birth to my child a decade and a half ago. So I know that it takes at least a year for a scar on my body to really gain any nerve that it's coming back. But this is interesting because they didn't cut in here. They tunneled under and took the took out the lymph nodes. But yeah, no, there's a lot of there's still numbness right across here. The other side where they didn't take out any lymph nodes doesn't have that kind of numbness. So that's the kind of the only sort of residual thing. The big thing that's happened over this last month, so between month 5 and month 6, that really stood out to me from a recovery standpoint was the simple fact that for the first 5 months, and especially those first 3 months, the first 3 months, I really wanted to be wearing my compression bra, my compression tank tops. They felt good. They felt secure. I didn't want things gently touching my skin. It felt creepy and weird. I didn't want anything kind of brushing against it. So I always wore like a fairly tight tank top and a tight compression bra for those first 3 months because of that. After the first 3 months, I kind of started, weaning myself off of it. I'd go like a few hours without compression, things like that. But I'd still wear a tank top, something so that I didn't get that creepy sort of gentle, yeah, it just felt really, really creepy and weird. So that's the part that really stood out to me over the last month. So between month 5 and month 6, where we are now, it flipped. It changed. Now, because I put on one of my compression tanks a week or two ago, and it felt weird. Like, it felt tight, it felt restrictive, and I didn't like it. So this thing that used to feel supportive and secure and like a hug during the first few months of recovery stopped feeling that way and started actually feeling foreign and weird. And so I really wanted to mention that from a recovery standpoint, because I was not expecting that at all. And so that was really interesting. And it's one of those things, like, I literally, now would prefer just to have a single layer, because my skin is starting to feel like mine. I don't feel like I need protection from things touching it. It feels more like, my arm would. I don't mind if things touch my arm. If I'm wearing a sleeve or something and it brushes against my arm, that's okay. It's not creepy. So the same thing seems to be happening across my chest. And that was an interesting part of recovery from a biomechanical standpoint that I found kind of noteworthy over this last month, because it's really sort of the only thing that's seriously changed in this last month. So that was really neat. But that kind of really was the only recovery thing of note. The only thing of note related to the mastectomy. Everything else is just kind of going swimmingly. The scars are not angry and red anymore. They're still most definitely there. I think I can at least flash like a little bit. There we go. You can kind of see. That's the bottom of it, because it's a T-shaped scar that goes on each breast, but you can kind of see what it looks like. So I mean, it's not terrible. It's not angry. And at 6 months, I'm not going to complain about that. So that was the update that I really wanted to give. Generally, life is kind of back to normal, except for the fact that once a week I go to a therapy group. I take a time away from work to specifically go to a cancer therapy group at Wellspring, which is really helping from a mental health standpoint. It's giving me a lot of excellent tools, like meditate, and these are tools that I'm not using just for when I think about cancer. These are tools that I use when I think about all of the other mental stresses that exist in modern life. Let's talk about the world politics, and just the fact that I have a relatively stressful job. I own a company. I'm a mechanical engineer at the higher point of my career. I've got people that work for me. So all of these things come with it's very exciting, things I'm super proud of, but they come with stresses. And so it's good to have tools in my mental toolbox that are helping me cope with all of these things. So not just the cancer, but I'm using these tools for everything in my day-to-day life. And of course, you know, just to bring it back around to where I'm sitting, you know, honestly, exercise, really for the last 12 years that I've been doing aerial circus has been one of the greatest mental health outlets that I have. This is, you know, when I buy circus equipment, when I pay for classes, you know, honestly, I'm saving myself money in therapy, because these are things that make me feel good. Both they help me focus mentally about, they help me use my body, they give me an artistic outlet. It's just there's so many ways. They've given me community as well. There's just so many ways that circus has improved my adult life, even though, you know, I'm just a recreational performer. So that said, I promised you that you would at least get to see what this cube that, you know, I sit inside when I talk to you actually looks like in its full expression of aerial cubiness. Because I recognize that aerial cube is a fairly unusual circus apparatus. It's not super common. Most people have seen silks. I've actually got a set of silks right over there. Have seen silks, you know, probably aerial hoop. Those, you know, straps. These are all pretty common. Cube is a lot less common because, you know, let's be frank. Cubes are expensive. I'm incredibly privileged to, you know, have a day job as I said. I'm a mechanical engineer. I've got some money to spend on my hobbies. You know, some people really get into cycling and buy expensive bikes. I buy circus equipment and use it. So I mean, I've got a rig outside here in my backyard, and today I'm going to go fly my cube. So I'm gonna just show you how it flies, and then I'm gonna turn this camera off so that I can actually focus on my practice session. So it's nice to see you. I'm just gonna move this back a little bit, adjust the camera so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. Here, I'll let you see the top. That's the rest of the rig. As you can see, it looks like a giant swing set. That's how an aerial rig, well, my aerial rig works. Position this, go over here, and hoist her up. Secure this. Just lightly. And as you can see, the cube is now flying in the air. I'm going to say goodbye because I'm going to go double check, excuse me, double check that I actually have secured my knots correctly, and double check all of my rigging before I actually go play on this thing, because it is so much fun to do. So I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.